So Elysium is in full swing at 600 Guildford, and we find the Archon Mason Cassidy roaming around in the main area, looking for a particular man, well-dressed individual. Of course, we are talking about Isaac Reed. Mason spots him somewhere in the crowd, just somewhere in the room, just loitering, doing whatever posh wankers do at Elysium. And he approaches almost sheepishly, but still with, holding himself high and striding with purpose. Isaac
kind of turns around. He's holding Yevdekimov's old coat like draped over his forearm in one arm, and in the other hand he's holding a glass of blood, and he kind of switches it to the hand holding the coat and extends his hand. Mason, glad to see you're doing well, Archon.
Same to you. Would you mind if we go somewhere to speak a bit more privately?
If there are private things you wish to discuss, I'm sure we can find somewhere. There looks like there's some secluded tables over there, unless you need it to be urgently private.
It's not particularly private. It's just it's more of a private conversation, personal conversation. Exactly.
Well, all right then. Lead the way.
And Mason will lead you over to a quite a very secluded area off in a corner. It's just no one's really around, and they takes a seat at a table.
Isaac kind of puts the glass down the table in front of him, drapes Yevdekimov's coat over the back of the chair, and then takes a seat and sits down, and then just starts kind of like thumbing the rim of the glass.
First of all, I'd like to apologise for my outburst earlier. It was uncalled for, and
I took no offence. I assumed you thought that Yevdekimov was still alive, in which case, showing up with this would have been quite the issue. So
yes, but also when Bob and Sabina and I came over, and it was when I made a comment about
the mob. I'm kind of shocked to hear that you knew. I like to think I kept my composure up, but
yes, it was rash of me to make a comment like that, and I apologise. It was uncalled for.
Apology accepted.
What do you think of Sabina?
Sabina? I seriously underestimated her initiative. I had thought of her as a bubbly waitress who was a bit of an airhead. I made a mistake there. She is more turned on than I had anticipated originally, more switched on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I have ethical and personal disagreements with Bob's decision to ghoul someone who is a child.
So do I.
But yeah, he's the scourge of the city, and she seems to be happy enough with being a ghoul, so it's not my place to start making demands of him or her. So it is what it is, and she seems eager to work with me. So I'm.
Yes, she's very concerned about her family. Well, wants to help them, help the family business, so to speak. And, I just want to make sure that she's 15, and I know that her family's not involved, but it is involved in some dangerous and unsavory business.
If it were up to me, Mason, she wouldn't be involved in the mob at all.
I know. This isn't about her. She can handle herself. I just would ask you. You owe nothing to me. You owe me nothing. But I'd ask that you do everything you can to keep her family safe.
I already was intending to do so, but yes, I have every intention of keeping her family safe.
I'm glad. It's still kind of is a shock to me that she's involved in as much as she is, and she knows as much as she does.
I'm rather shocked too. A 15-year-old girl being involved in the kind of way she is. It's not a decision I would have made, but I suppose we work with the hand we're dealt.
Mm.
But yes, I'm rather shocked myself.
Yes. But yeah, I'm relieved to hear that her family will be protected.
Well, it's in my interest to keep them protected
Of course.
anyway. So.
Of course.
And as for children, I have a tendency to draw a bit of a line in the sand there, despite my unorthodox morality in other areas.
Well, we all have our lines that we don't cross.
Was this all you wish to discuss, or is there more?
I think it. Yeah.
Well, then, tell me something not so formal and private and important. What exactly are your plans now that you're the acting constable?
What my plans? Same as they were before. Root out the long night. That's the main priority right now, especially with Andre out of commission for the moment. I need to gather up what information and what plans he had put in place, and who he was in contact with, and then
As it kind of
move forward.
Looks around very intently to make sure no one's listening in before he looks back at you. Are you sure his notes can be trusted, considering what condition he was in for the past few decades? Yevdokimov told me before he passed.
I think whatever that thing was, it was playing the long game. It was acting as Andre.
So it's nice. So its notes on the long night could still be very reliable.
Yes, it was still doing the job of the constable.
Sabina brought up something about a tribulation militia. Any idea what that is?
I think that's just what the long night were referred to early on, before we knew that. It's kind of just when they started to become a bit more organised. It was just another. The name was still. They're still the long night, but it was just another thing that they were referred to, briefly, but still the long night. At least as far as I'm aware. Well, if you don't mind me asking, and he kind of looks at the coat. How did that happen?
Have you ever gone hunting, Mason?
A few times.
You ever come across a grizzly bear? The big fuckers, the ones that are like more than 1,000 pounds?
Sure.
Then you know, probably better than me since I've not been hunting, you know that those things can shrug off rifle shots like it were nothing. So you never go head to head with a grizzly, do you?
No.
To catch a grizzly, to stop a grizzly, you have to use a bear trap. No one, or at least very few people in this room were ever going to stop Yevdokimov in a straight up fight. And I am most definitely bottom of the list. It was an ambush. A bear trap. The details, I'm not sure you want to know. I'm not sure they're all that important or even entertaining if you're the morbid type.
They're not important, but I guess I'm just curious. I've seen Yevdokimov fight down 10 men armed with rifles and high-powered hand cannons, and shrug it off like it was nothing.
Well, this time there were just too many bullets, I suppose.
Even by a trap. How do you trap Yevdokimov?
There are ways of trapping everyone. I didn't use a literal bear trap, if that's what you're asking.
I didn't think you did.
Just, there are ways and means. But I think it's better I reserve the details for myself. And I took no pleasure in it, if that's what you're asking as well. It was necessary. He was an enemy of, I'd say, the state, but we know that refers to Carthians now in the kindred terminology. He was an enemy of
the city.
The all-night society. The city, yes. Had he not been, I probably would not have done what I did.
You seemed...
But ultimately, we're sworn to our prince before we're sworn to our friends.
Of course. I'm just surprised you seemed very apprehensive at first.
Apprehensive?
Well, do you remember in the car when we got the text? You were saying how we should just not interact with anything to do with that.
I had no interest, but the bear came wandering onto my part of the woods. So my hand was forced.
That's curious. Why?
I don't know. Because
he did the same to me.
Did he now? Did he ask anything of you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm assuming that they came to ask you the same thing.
Well, you show me yours and I'll show you mine.
He came asking maybe a day ago. No, not a day ago. What am I talking about?
A few nights ago?
Yeah, a few nights ago. Asking me to not participate in the blood. I didn't give him a yes or a no. I told him that my duties as the Archon would come first.
A good way to thread the middle ground. He did not ask me that, though I think it was obviously implied from the way he was talking. From my understanding, he wanted me to help him trap neonates. He wanted me to kind of be his man on the inside, find out who was coming after him, let him know ahead of time. He ambushes them and takes them out until eventually people stop coming. That's a lot of lives for just one man.
Yeah. Smart. But I see why you didn't take that.
Well, I don't really know who was after him in the first place anyway, except maybe Bob, since he is Scourge.
I could have imagined probably Bob, myself, the King, Declius.
Yes, Declius. That brings me on to my next topic. You are acting constable right now. Well done on your promotion, by the way.
Thank
Do you intend to try and take the office on a more permanent basis, or if someone like Declius were to contest you for it, would you stand down?
If the opportunity presents itself, I'd like to continue this role on a more permanent basis. So I highly doubt I will be constable on a permanent basis. I imagine I'd revert back to Archon as soon as, probably when Andre's fit again, he'll probably resume the role.
So you're enjoying the role of Archon?
I wouldn't say enjoying, but I feel like I could do a lot of good for the All Night Society.
I heard you were a recluse before, much like myself.
I was.
Change of heart?
I think at first I just needed time to myself to get my bearings and figure out why I was still here. But eventually I thought it was better to see what this second life had in store for me, than just wallow away in my small, shitty office on the edge of the city. And I had none of this in mind, believe me. But you make the do with what you've got.
Yes, play the hand you're dealt.
Exactly. And I don't know. I get the feeling that not many other roles in Kindred Society would suit me as well as this seems to.
Well, all the best.
Thank you.
May you continue to do well in your position as Archon and acting constable. Serve the city dutifully.
Thank you.
But for now, I have to take my leave. There are some other matters I have to attend to.
Of course.
It's been pleasant speaking to you, Mason.
It has been. And I know that we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And we have our differences, but as long as I know what you have done and continue to do for Rachel, and as long as that continues, you'll have my gratitude.
Adorable. We don't have to be friends, Mason, but I certainly wouldn't want you as an enemy. Enjoy the rest of your night. It's been pleasant speaking to you as always. And if you've not tried it, have some of what's on tap tonight. It's very nice. And Isaac kind of turns and walks away back into the crowd.
Mason just kind of leans back in his chair and kind of clenches his jaw, watching Isaac walk away. And then he gets up and goes out back into Elysium.